What you are going to have a discussion on today is the world of cybersecurity and cyber attacks, the do's and don'ts. And before I get to that point, allow me to introduce myself once more. I'd said my name is Cynthia Chepkemoi. I'm a legal and data protection officer at Southend Tech Limited. And at Southend Tech, we deal with managed IT services, that is data protection, cybersecurity. We also offer endpoint solutions to devices such as your laptops, phones. We maintain all those critical security IT infrastructure. So that's what we basically do here. And yeah, I think that introduction will do for today. Let's proceed and have our discussion. So maybe I'll just ask a rhetorical question. What do you understand by cybersecurity? What do you understand by cyber attacks? So yeah, let's jump in and see what that is, or what all that is all about. So sorry about that. I was just looking at something. So first, we look at the legal framework on cybersecurity generally, and we have laws that touch on cybersecurity that are international, regional, sub-regional, and local laws. So the first one is the African African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data. The second one is the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. This is a state legislation. It's a Kenyan legislation in that aspect. Then we have the Data Protection Act of 2019 and the ICT Act, which normally they have the National Kenya Computer Incident Response Team Coordination Center, which is called the KSAT or CC. They respond to reports of data breach or cybersecurity attacks. That's what they normally do. So we will measure on the Kenyan laws first before I proceed to hand over to our speaker of the day. So actually, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act number 5 of 2018, it is an act of parliament to provide for offenses relating to computer systems to enable timely and effective detection, prohibition, prevention, response, investigation, and prosecution of computer and cybercrimes, to facilitate international cooperation in dealing with computer and cybercrime matters and for connected purposes. So normally, there is no. When I began, I started with stating that what is cybercrime or what are cyber attacks, but generally there is no universal definition of cybercrime. However, there's a general consensus that exists that cybercrimes falls into two categories. There are crimes that are now committed using computer and networks, and the second limb of it is crimes that have specifically evolved in the computer age and use sophisticated methods to commit such crimes. So even when you look at the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, there is no specific definition on what is a cybercrime. So, but I had one that I got from somewhere. Normally, cybercrime is a criminal act in which computer-based equipment, automated services, or communication mechanisms is either the object or the means of perpetrating legal or regulatory restricted or prohibited offenses. So in this instance, like for an offense to be termed as a cyber crime or a cyber attack, normally they are propagated through the use of the computers and all those devices that we use from day to day, technological devices and all that. So there are several categories of cyber crimes. And the first limb touches on personal cybercrimes. These types of crimes target people and consist of cyberbullying, cyberstalking, identity theft, identity impersonation, fraud, scams, blackmail, data theft, ransomware attacks, etc. So these are the ones that touch on our individual persons, you as an individual, they are in personam. So the second one is institutional cybercrimes. These types of crimes target companies or governments and consist of denial of service attacks, cyber vigilantism, cyber terrorism, cyber slander, hacktivism, or website defacement, etc., etc. Then we have property cybercrime. So this is the third category of cybercrime, which normally targets digital property and consists of data theft, computer sabotage, data destruction, among others. Then in law we have something called inchoate. So inchoate crimes are inchoate actually is a specific legal term that is used to describe crimes that have been started but not completed. They are in the process. So what normally happens in this scenario or this type of cybercrime is where it's normally where a hacker has completed the initial steps of an attack of a network or computer, which is now the target in this case. And these steps could include scanning a target for potential vulnerabilities, verifying the vulnerabilities that exist on the target, and installing malicious software to siphon away confidential information or data. In this example, all the hacker would need to do is complete the crime or maybe activate the malicious software remotely. They don't really have to be in that room physically. And that's why cybercrime is on the rise, because you don't need to be at a certain location for you to commit a cybercrime. It can be done remotely. So that is basically the legal framework and the types of cybercrimes that exist. And yeah, what I'm going to do is introduce our speaker of the day. So our speaker today is Silvia Kiragu, and she's going to take us through the world of cybersecurity and cyber attacks, the do's and don'ts. And this is a brief profile of who she is and what she does. So Silvia Kiragu is a cybersecurity researcher and trainer with a keen interest in OSINT, which is open source intelligence, and OPSEC. This mostly talks of operational security, I mean. She's also an alumnus of the National Cybersecurity Training Program, Cohort 1, and the 6th edition of the Kenya School of Internet Governance. She's also a trainer at SheHacks KE. Silvia is a content creator and a curriculum developer in cybersecurity. She hosts a podcast known as Let's Talk Cyber Podcast. She has proficiently trained over 500 professionals. Oh, yeah, that's great. Then she's also a mentor and is currently mentoring a group of university students from Nigeria and Kenya. Earlier in the year, she attended and facilitated a talk at the Mozilla Festival, which was titled Digital Privacy in the Third World, Is it a Fact or a Fiction? In 2021, during October's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, she played a key role by being a panelist in several talks and was keen on creating awareness. So I'm going to hand over to Silvia, then she'll take us through cybersecurity as she's the expert. Welcome, Silvia.
So I'm going to start on the world of cybersecurity and cyber attacks, do's and don'ts. So basically, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what cybersecurity is, some of the attacks that have happened in the past since January started, and also we're gonna look at how Kenya is according to cyber attacks. So cybersecurity. The main cybersecurity basically refers to a process or techniques involved in protecting sensitive data, computer systems, networks, and software applications from cyber attacks. And what is a cyber attack? This is basically an assault launched by a cyber criminal using one or more computer against a single or multiple computers or networks. And a cyber attack can maliciously disable computers, it can steal data, or use a breached computer as a launch point for other attacks. When you're performing red teaming activities or something we call penetration testing, basically you launch a shell onto your machine, onto someone's machine, and then you can be able to move laterally across the network in, let's say if it's an organization, but that is a topic, that's a whole topic on its own. Now, when you're talking about cybersecurity, there are principles that govern this aspect of cybersecurity. Can you hear me? Someone is talking. Hello?
I was going to CBC over the weekend. I didn't find mine and it was in my bag and I thought I'd left it here.
Can you mute your mic, please?
Silvia, you can mute them on your end because you have the host privileges. So you can.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I was talking about the Cia Triad. So the Cia Triad, basically, these are the guiding principles behind what information security is. And when we talk about CIA, we're not talking about like the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. We're talking about the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. When we talk about confidentiality, this means this is the protection of personal information. It means that this information can be read by only the right people. When we talk about confidentiality, here is where, integrity. Integrity refers to the methods of ensuring the data is real, it is accurate, and it's safeguarded from unauthorized user modification. So when we're talking about integrity, here we are talking about things we call classification of information. Is this information sensitive? Is this information classified? Is it unclassified? Is it top secret? These are the different classifications of information. So therefore, the Cia Triad, this information needs to have integrity. When it comes to ability, it refers to, in the computer systems, it refers to the ability of a user to access information or resources in a specified location and in the correct format. This means that this information should be available to read and use whenever we want. So these are the three principles that guide information security and or cybersecurity. Now, since 2020, we all know we got the COVID pandemic, and basically the world changed, everything changed from all sectors, from government to schools to business to healthcare, everything changed. And people had no choice but to actually adapt to the new way of doing things. And this meant schools were to be done online. It meant parliament briefings were to be done via video conferencing apps. It meant that basically you were to get in touch with the world online. And this basically meant that there was a big move of people actually embracing the internet. And with this thing of people embracing the internet, and we would see our parents now, they are joining the church via Zoom, they are joining the church via Facebook, and this meant criminals, they saw this is a chance now for us to dominate this space. And so we call it the Kenya's digital transformation. And what this means, we saw remote work, which some people right now have already refused to go back to work because they're like, I mean, what's the importance of me I am at home with my laptop, I pack it, then I go to traffic for over 2 hours, reach to town, open my laptop and do the same work that I would have done at home. So we have seen the increase of people embracing remote work. We have seen people embracing the gig economy. What do I mean by gig economy? This means if you have a skill, maybe you're a social media marketer, you can be able to sell your skill on apps, on sites such as Fiverr. These are freelancing sites. So we have seen people embracing having more than one job and being able to do different things. I was talking about increase in adoption of the gig economy. And I was referring to the gig economy being people basically selling their skills, such as like voiceover artists, people who are so good in social media management. We have seen the rise of virtual assistants, and basically this is embracing. I don't know why it's not. Basically, this is embracing and adopting the gig economy. We have also seen the adoption of online and hybrid learning, in that for a very for a number of months, we saw university students and even secondary and primary students move their classes to online. And yes, before there was this, there was the, what is not? Before the COVID pandemic, there was people who are learning online, yes, but it was not as effective as it is right now. And we have also seen an uptick in e-commerce, in that people are embracing having online shops and having Instagram shops. We have seen Facebook shops, and we have seen people come up with sites. And we have also seen people embracing video conferencing applications such as Zoom. We have Microsoft Teams, we have Skype, we have Discord, and we have seen people literally embracing this, and up to a point where people are actually suffering from Zoom fatigue. What are some of the cyber attacks that have affected this this move to basically doing everything online? So we have seen cyber attacks such as phishing attacks. We all know what phishing attacks are. This is where you send manipulative or malicious links to people, and you expect them to click, and then you get access to their machine. We have seen data breaches. We have seen a surge in fake news. Right now, people, considering right now it's the time for elections, we should expect a lot of disinformation and misinformation, spreading of fake news, and you need to be able to verify any news that you get before you send it out there to people. We have also seen rise of ransomware attacks, and this year actually there is one form of not really ransomware attack, but it's sort of a malware attack known as the Trojan password stealingware. This is a malware that steals passwords alongside with the account information, which then allows attackers to gain access to the corporate network and steal sensitive information. So this is one of the malwares that in this year actually has seen a 16% rise in all sectors. We have seen things such as impersonation, where people impersonate maybe Safaricom customer care agents, and they try and perform a SIM swap on your phone. And we're going to look at that as one of the case studies. We also saw a rise in false publications. People, as I said earlier, people spreading misinformation and disinformation. We have seen a lot of online fraud. People have been defrauded online, and we're going to look at one of the case studies. We have also seen high rise of cyberbullying, and this mostly comes when you see right now there are a lot of these gossip sites, and you find that as a as a person, maybe like let's say you are a public figure, or at least a few people know you, you cannot literally do anything. Like let's say you go out with your friends, you can't really be yourself because you're always looking out for people who will take pictures, and then the next day you find yourself on the internet and people are trolling you. And we have seen a case of cyberbullying that has led to suicide, and this happened, I think it was earlier this year in South Africa. Yeah, and we have seen so many cases of cyberbullying, be it in kids, be it in adults, and we have seen the rise of even mental health cases due to cyberbullying and harassment online. And these are people, the people who do this, these are people who hide behind avatars. We call them avatars or pseudo accounts or sock puppets. These are people whose main aim is basically to get traction, and so that they can be able to do this cyberbullying and harassment things. Now, we have talked a lot about phishing attacks. I've basically just given a brief overview of some of the attacks that happen. Now, in Africa, since the year started, some of the main cyber attacks that have been covered, basically from the threat reports for 2021, they came out with a study that showed that online in Africa, basically in Africa, online scams, digital extortion, and there is one type of attack known as the business email compromise. We are going to look at this attack and how how someone from Kenya performed this attack. We have also seen the rise in ransomware, as I have said earlier, and botnets. And Cynthia had explained a couple of cyber attacks that occur. Now, to break this monotony of talking, I'd like to ask you people a couple of questions. How do we know that an email is a phishing email? Name different examples of phishing attacks, and what is social engineering? So I'd like to hear from someone. You can raise your hand on the reactions, and we get to hear your opinion. How do we identify a phishing email? What are these things that we look at when we are considering whether an email is a phishing email or a legitimate email? Cynthia, I think you can help me to check people who are commenting. You can even comment on the chat.
No comments so far, the chat box.
Yes, someone is talking.
Okay.
Yes?
I'll answer here.
Okay.
Yes, how to identify phishing email from my personal experience is that if you look at most of the emails will come from probably say institutions that say for instance talk about FedEx sending you an email, or Facebook or Google. Then if you look at the URL, you'll find that it's actually not legitimate. And if you click on it, it will take you to a different path altogether, or a different a different platform. And
Okay.
then most of the phishing email, they also tend to, just like the normal scamming, they will always the email will always come with some threats that if you don't do something, then something is going to happen. For instance, you will receive an email from Google telling you that your password is about to expire. If you don't renew your password, or if you don't renew your username by such and such a time, then you will be kind of removed from Google, something like that. So they normally come up with some sense of urgency, so that you are not able to think through it. You're not able to you stop and think. Then also, if you look at such kind of emails, you'll find most of it they have some mistakes. They could be having some spelling mistakes, some wording are not okay. So basically, it's just look at the URL, or look at the URL that is sending you the email. Look out for spelling, and if there is some sense of urgency with some threats in it, then most likely you'll find that it's a phishing email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have actually laid out everything very well. And I've seen someone here, the comment section saying phishing emails usually have grammatical errors. I don't know why, but they usually have a lot of grammatical errors. But I think of late, the scammers have gotten better in their grammar, and they're not misspelling words and having typos in their emails. We can also look at anything that is telling you to click on a link. Now, I know it won't be as direct as click on this link to see a photo, or click on this link to see the pictures we took maybe in Mombasa, but it can also come as a photo. Someone can lace an image with malware and send you via WhatsApp. And once you open the image, you are infected. It can also come as, you see, now that we said that several sectors moved to having things online. And this meant when you go to a restaurant, you won't be given the menu. There is a QR code on the table that you have to scan. Now, there are this sort of social engineering technique or cyber attack known as QR jacking. And this is a form of cyber attack where this QR code that you're scanning is laced with malware. And once you scan, your phone is infected. So you need to you need to have a QR verifier, QR code verifier. There is an app on App Store known as the QR code, I think QR code verifier or something. This basically, before you scan any code, you need to scan that QR code using this verifier, and then it's going to tell you whether the QR code is legit. I hope we are together. Also, we look at who the email is from, who is the sender of the email. And I like to advise my trainees to have at least to sort of separate their emails. Have an email address that you use to access all social networking sites or any site that requires you to log in. Use one email. Then have another email that you give to people, that email that you put on your CV, that email that you send send your applications with, that email that you send applications for, let's say a job or a fellowship or a scholarship or grants. That email, ensure is different from the one that you use to access social networking sites. Then the other email you can have is if maybe you would like to get into dark web, or you like basically researching things on the deep web, you should not do that with your actual email. You can create another email. And nowadays, there are things that we call disposable emails. These are emails that you do not have to have a number to log into. Yeah, so you can check that out later. Also, have one email for Tutanota. Tutanota is a secure emailing service that basically you just use to communicate. You cannot open a Gmail account with Tutanota account. You cannot open a social networking site with Tutanota. This basically, Tutanota is just a service to communicate. Yeah, so what are the different examples of phishing attacks? I'll start calling names. What are some of the different examples of phishing attacks that you know? Gordon, can you describe for us some of the phishing attacks that you've heard of? Spear phishing. Someone on the chat has talked about spear phishing. Spear phishing basically is where you target someone specifically. You're like, this email is targeting so and so. That is spear phishing. You are not sending random emails to people. You are targeting a certain person. And how do you do this? You do this by doing your reconnaissance and finding out what their email is. Probably they've posted it on their Instagram. Probably they've posted it somewhere on the web, and there are tools that you can use to search for this information. We have whaling. Janet is saying whaling phishing. This is targeted to senior executive. Now, why is it called whaling? It's called whaling because the whale is we sort of describe the C-suite. The C-suite is the CFO, the CEO, the CTO. These CC people, we call them, they are like the whales of the institution. And these people never attend, they never attend trainings. And so, as a hacker, you can target these people, and it will be so easy for them to click and sign everything that you want them to do if they do not have the right training. We have phishing and smishing. Phishing and smishing, these are the most common forms of phishing that we have seen. And one case study that we have seen this was when Lulu Hassan, a journalist in Citizen TV, did an investigative piece where she called it Community Call Center. And we saw how people are literally scammed by this cartel known as the Community Call Center. And this form of communication is known as phishing, where you use voice phishing to gather information about someone. Smishing is SMS phishing. Yeah, and I feel like we've actually really gone in depth when it comes to phishing attacks. What is social engineering? What can we call social engineering? Since Gordon, you didn't answer my first question, what is social engineering? The last question, then we continue. What is social engineering? I need someone to open their mic and speak, please. What is social engineering? Cynthia Soy, what is social engineering? Martha? Someone please talk to me. Martha? Can people hear me? I feel like I'm talking alone. Can people hear me?
Let me try.
Yes, please tell me what is social engineering from your, there is no wrong answer. From your understanding. Is someone talking?
Oh, I'm speaking. Sorry, I'm speaking while muted.
Oh, okay.
So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Social engineering is about. I'm just giving as an example.
Okay.
Say you are in LinkedIn or you are in Facebook on Facebook.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
somebody gets to know you on Facebook as a friend or on LinkedIn. Then they somehow gain your trust. Then through that they try to manipulate you to get some information that
Yes.
they seemingly want to have, and this
Yeah.
information can be sensitive. But
Yeah.
since you already they kind of befriended you and they have gained your trust, they easily manipulate you into giving such kind of information that you are not supposed to give.
Yes.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes, Martha. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. I think.
Lensa.
Oh, I think my microphone was not working.
Muted. Yeah.
So I just want to try. So social
Yeah.
engineering is psychological manipulation, whereby you can trick users on giving away sensitive information, maybe about their organization or company or where they work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So perfectly put, manipulating people psychologically so that you can be able to get information about anything that you want. Now, let's get into some of the case studies that have happened. Now, in 2021, Kenya recorded about 158.4 million cyber attacks, and this is an increase of 47.5 million. And remember, I said that since we embraced technology at in a length that we've never done before, this meant that this was sort of Christmas came early for cyber criminals, and this was their time to come up with more sophisticated ways of getting money online. Or even not only getting money. Remember, data is the new oil. I was doing a research the other day, and I found out that in the dark web, people are actually selling data and it's so much money than actual things such as the way people used to buy drugs online, the way people used to. Okay, now in the dark web, there used to be this marketplace known as Silk Road. So Silk Road was one of the first marketplaces, and this place used to sell goods and services. Services meaning if you wanted to hire a hitman, if you wanted to hire for someone to be beaten up, if you wanted to buy drugs, if you wanted to buy passports, yeah, that's what it was about. It was about goods and services. Then it was shut down by the FBI, and then there came another one known as Alphabet. Now, Alphabet was like 10 times bigger than Silk Road, and Alphabet was more of product-based. It was known as the Amazon of the dark web. Like you would literally buy anything and your drugs would come via the mail. Now, after it was shut down, the current dark web marketplaces that we have right now, they are selling something we call as digital goods. What are digital goods? Digital goods is your digital information, your usernames, your passwords, your geographical locations, your geolocations, your everything that you can term as a digital information, literally anything that can be taken, your credentials that can be taken by hackers, they are being sold on dark web marketplaces. And now, according to the CAK's Communications Authority of Kenya, between January and March, this is the first quarter of this year, there were 79.2 million attacks. And this is such a big number. And among these cases, we saw one last week that it was called the Bitcoin Syndicate. And basically, these were two Kenyatta University students who were behind a multi-million cybercrime syndicate. So basically, what they used to do is they would hack people's credit cards, mostly international people. They hack their credit cards, and then they would purchase Bitcoins. And then after purchasing their Bitcoin, they would change the currency into Kenyan currency. So, and these people would basically open pseudo accounts where they would register for things. And yeah, so these people were caught on 16th, I think it was on Thursday. Yeah, it was on Thursday. They were caught on Thursday in Nakuru at the Milimani estate. And the DCI said that these people were actually really living lavish lifestyles using people's money. Yeah, so the other case is SIM swap. Now, over the years, we've had, we've seen different modes of performing SIM swap. It's the same SIM swap, but the mode that they use to trick people changes with time. Now, there was this police boss who lost around 600,000 shillings to Bomet fraudsters. You can go and check out that that story. We have even this guy who is known as Farah Bashir, who lost up to 2.6 million in a matter of hours. And this thing happened in a span of, as you can see, okay, I think my internet is shaky.
Sorry, I was trying to.
I think you.
Yeah, let me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as I was saying, basically these people were defrauded of their money with something as simple as SIM swap. And here is where a fraudster calls you and they try to get they talk like someone who is from Safaricom. I know we have all had a case of SIM swap, and mostly it affects the older generation because these people, if you tell them you have and they use threats actually, because they might tell you you have Fuliza if you don't pay by this time, or you have Mshwari loan. If you don't pay, we're going to send your name to this CRB and such threats. Yeah, no, I can share. And such kind of threats. We have even seen the rise of money lending apps being very aggressive towards the lenders and even threatening to release their information. We have actually seen one of, it's known as Opesa or Osasa, Opesa, Okash and Opesa. I remember it was in 2020 they released a PDF basically of people's names and their ID numbers and their phone numbers. You see, this, first of all, this is a breach of data, because we consider money lending apps as data controllers. They have our data. they are data controllers. So according to the Data Protection Act, they are not supposed to share this information to anyone, but to use it for themselves. And I think they were actually told that they cannot continue offering their services, and I think the matter was in court. Yeah. So we have also seen this scam. It was called the Fairfax County scam. This is how Kenyans scammers basically stole 3 million from US firms. So they did a type of phishing attack called the business email compromise. So basically, this is they sort of pretended to be working in Dell, the computer Dell, yeah, and then they defrauded a company. This Fairfax County, they defrauded them about 3 million. And they were doing all this remotely from Kenya. And these people were actually sought out by the FBI, and I think they were sentenced. Yeah. Now, what are my recommendations concerning basically these cyber attacks? One, if you are an institution, an organization, and you have come across a cyber incident, ensure you report to KSAT. Now, why are we reporting? Most organizations do not report because they fear the reputation, but we forget that if we do not educate others by using our mistakes, we won't be able to learn, and we won't be able to know that these attacks are actually affecting us. And we have seen, it's not that there are no banks in Kenya that are usually hacked. Banks are hacked. We have seen even non-profit organizations being really targeted because, you know, non-profit organizations hold information about people. And these are people, actually even people who deal with stuff like human rights. We have seen these people, their servers being attacked. And you might say, they are a non-profit organization. Probably there is no money that is or a certain organization has been hacked, and you're like, this organization doesn't even have that much money for them to hack it because of financial reasons. But we remember that data is the new oil, and they might not be having money, but they have the data. And also remember to provide your staff with basic cybersecurity hygiene training. I prefer for an organization to ensure that they keep on doing these trainings, even if it's monthly, because or even as an enrollment, when you're onboarding people, when you're onboarding your first clients, ensure that cyber hygiene training is part of the onboarding process, because you're actually bringing this person into your company and you want to disclose to them. Here is where you're going to disclose to them what is the policy to your company when it comes to backing up of your work, when it comes to password management, when it comes to how information flows in the company, when it comes to classifying what documents are sensitive, what documents are classified, what documents are unclassified. Now, participating in creating of awareness among various sectors. So KBA, which is the Kenya Bankers Association, retailers and payment companies usually have a campaign each and every year, and they launched one, I think it was last month, yes, and it's called Chonjo, Be Alert. Basically, they're just advising people on online safety and awareness. And also, we have Safaricom. After this cases of SIM-swap fraud, Safaricom came up with a way of basically whitelisting the line from being replaced from by another person. So if you can use this service, *100*, 100 hash. And please ensure you remind. I know this message was sent to everyone, but it's good for us to remind the older generation, our parents, the people who don't keep on checking their phones. If you get your mom's phone, please ensure you put in this *100 hash to just basically protect them from their lines from being SIM swapped. Yes. Also, as a company, each year, remember, there is usually a cybersecurity month, which is October, and each company should basically get out of its way and be part of the cybersecurity awareness, despite the sector that you are in. The CAK, Communications Authority of Kenya, they have a game known as the Cyber Soldiers. This is a game for kids. Remember, kids are not exempt from cybersecurity. They should actually, children should actually be protected online, because we have seen so many cases of child grooming via these online sites. So there is a game there. You can go check it out on the Communications Authority of Kenya, their site. They have a game for kids. It's called Cyber Soldiers. And this is a form of basically creating awareness to kids. Ask key data protection measures. And the other thing is keep work devices physically safe. And if you have important information in your machine, ensure that your machine is encrypted. And to end it all, I'd like to talk about some of the cybersecurity best practices. I'm sure you hear these things so often, but I really didn't focus on them. I wanted us to have the overview of what can we do right now. These recommendations are what can we do right now, and as a sector, and what is the government doing. We have actually seen even the government has come up with the forensics lab at DCI, and this is a step closer to basically enhancing our cyberspace from cyber criminals. Now, some of the best practices that I'm sure you've heard a million times: ensure you keep your software up to date. You see your Windows, there's usually an update. It's called, I think, Patch Tuesday. There's usually an update almost every 2 weeks or almost every Tuesday. And what a patch means, it means that there is a tear. There is a tear in your system. Therefore, this patch is coming to patch the system. This update is coming to patch the tear in your system. Ensure you use antivirus protection and firewalls. I like to think Microsoft Defender, Windows Defender is really, I don't think you need to put like Kaspersky or Avast or any other form of antivirus on top of Windows Defender. But if you want to, you can. Ensure you use VPNs. There are so many VPNs. The thing is, you need to check which one aligns with you. You need to do your research. How many devices does this VPN cover? Is it pocket friendly? And such things. Check and configure app privacy settings. Now, we have seen people being scammed on Instagram, where you find someone is telling you, we have seen these comments of, so and so helped me gain my financial freedom, and click on this link to get Bitcoin and something of the sort. And once you click this link, you're locked out of your account. So ensure that you have two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is a form of a layer of security. Apart from just having your password, if you have two-factor authentication, this means that even if someone else has access to my password and they put it, they won't be able to even actually open the app, because it will need a two-factor, maybe a code. Yeah. Check app permissions. Now, when you're downloading some of these money lending apps, you see this money lending app wants access to your messages. It wants access to your contacts. Why? I just want money. Why do you want access to my contacts? Or you find you're downloading an application and it wants permissions that are really, it wants permission to, you're downloading a torch and it wants permission to your microphone. Why? So as in, you need to ask yourself these questions before you actually just download it and give it all the permissions. Disable Bluetooth when you're not using it. Remember, Bluetooth, you can be hacked via Bluetooth. So if your Bluetooth is always on, please be making sure you're switching it off. Get anti-malware and antivirus protection for your device. I've already talked about that. Download application from verified sources. What this means is if you use Android, ensure all the apps that are on your phone, you download them from Google Play Store. If you're using iPhone, I think you guys have App Store. Yes. Use secure browsers. Secure browsers, we know we have Brave. I actually use Brave. This that I'm using is called Brave. We have Safari. This one is for Mac. We have Mozilla, can be safe. You have to, even Chrome, but you have to add a few browser add-ons such as Privacy Badger. Privacy Badger basically looks like this. Oh, I don't have it here. Yeah, but basically Privacy Badger is an add-on that basically just blocks out ads. Then ensure that the sites that you are visiting, they have HTTPS or they have that green padlock. So that means they are secure. Practice online etiquette. We call it online etiquette, is called netiquette. So how you address people so that there not be harassment and bullying. What you post, be mindful of what you post. Be mindful of what you put out there. Be mindful of who you're talking to online, even if you do not know the other person. Remember words hurt. Yeah. Okay, I've said that. Create passphrases rather than passwords. Over the years, we've had this whole system of creating a password. It should be a capital letter, small letter. It should have symbols and characters. But remember, that is a framework that was made, like, I think so many years ago. And technology is evolving. Cyber criminals are getting wiser. And therefore, there's something we call the brute force attack or dictionary attack, where we use words from the dictionary to get to try and brute force and get into your password. So when I say use passphrases, a passphrase basically has spaces. It is difficult for any brute forcing tool or a hacker to hack a space. So therefore, what I mean is ensure that your password has spaces. It should be a passphrase. It should be a sentence. Use a password manager. There are so many password managers. Do your research. I personally use Bitwarden. And what a password manager does is you have an email and a master password. This master password opens your vault. And your vault is where you basically put all your passwords. You do not need to remember them because you can actually generate passwords. You can actually generate passwords on the, you can generate passwords on the Bitwarden what is it called, app. It can be an app. You can use it on your phone as an application. You can add it as an add-on. Here is mine. You can, so it looks like this. So once you log in, you have access to your vault. And if you forget that master password, You cannot, you see the way when you forget an account, you will say remember password. When it comes to master passwords, you cannot remember password. They will ask you to remember a hint, because even them, they do not have access to your account. So please, when you're creating that master password, ensure it is something that you're going to remember. Otherwise, you're going to have to create now a whole new maybe account and have the bit worded. Do not use public computers to log into your accounts. I'm sure this is something we all know. And once you lose your phone, even before you renew your line, the first thing you need to do is to go to Google under security and devices. Actually, I can show you. Under manage your Google account, you can come to security. Under security, we have devices, your devices. So under your devices, please go and check which devices have access to your email. And if that device is saying maybe 200 days ago, please remove that device and link that device. Yeah, and I feel like I have finished my talk for the day. Any question? Any question or comment?
Hi, Silvia.
Hi.
My name is Janet. I had a question. Now that we talked about social engineering and we talked about phishing, do you think that phishing is actually a type of social engineering?
Yes, of course, 100%. Yes. Phishing is a type of social engineering, and it is now considered as the largest form of social engineering that has been used for ages and ages, and it keeps on getting better. Yeah, so we consider phishing as one of the biggest form of social engineering.
Okay, and also with regards to the Data Protection Act, how well would you say it's implemented in the Kenyan, like generally in the Kenyan scene? How well is it implemented?
So, as for now, maybe I can pose that question to Cynthia. Cynthia, have there been any form of people who have been jailed because of this new law? I've only seen people who have been taken to court. I've not seen anyone who has been jailed. Cynthia, what do you think?
Okay, so what I have to say about that is, because when you look at our act, it's barely 3 years old, because it was enacted in 2019, and we were laying down the procedures and everything. So, without a procedure, you cannot go to court to report an offense. And the guiding law is the Data Protection Act in this case. And the regulations came into force in 2021, and it was that was in December, so like late last year. However, there have been reports regarding data protection and breaches and all that, and using people's photos and images for commercial use, but they have been brought to court under the constitutional petitions as a breach of privacy rights under Article 31 of the Constitution of Kenya. But now with the dawn of the Data Protection Act and the regulations, I will say that I believe that under the Data Protection Act, we have the reporting mechanisms, how you escalate a data breach as an individual or as a company. So first you have to petition, report it to the DPO. Kindly mute. Then the next stage is you report to the ODPC. Now that's where the committee sits, like it's more of a tribunal. And if you are not satisfied as a complainant with the decision of the Data Protection Commissioner, then you can escalate and move to court.
Hello.
So from there on, I think
hapa kwa CEO.
Okay, kindly
mute.
Kindly mute.
Aka ka ofisi niko kwa ile
Yo, please mute.
Kuna ile cybersecurity
Silvia, just go.
Can you mute on your side?
what you do, go to the participant, then
Yeah?
Okay.
or let me just
I think it's almost.
I can't even see who's talking.
let me retract the privilege, then that will work.
Okay. Okay.
Oh well. So as I was saying, so if you feel like you are not content with the decision of the data protection officer, then you can escalate the matter to court. That is the procedure. So our first point of call is we go to the ODPC. So that is the procedure. And in situations where an institution, or rather a data collector or processor, has an ADR mechanism, then that is where you should start from. So it starts with an in-house ADR. ADR stands for Alternative Dispute Resolutions. So before you move to the ODPC, if they have that, then you have to follow that procedure. I hope that answers your question. And so far, I've not heard of any case that has been reported. However, I believe maybe some could be in the oven baking, so we never know. But a while back, while I was working in a law firm, there was a matter, and we filed it under the Constitutional Court as a petition, claiming that there's some famous hotel in Naivasha that had shared the image of our client on their Twitter and Instagram page, and it was used as, when you look at that, it's like they are trying to market or for commercial use their organization or rather company using your image, but remember they don't have your permission, so that is a breach. So if at all you see your image anywhere that has been posted by a company or an organization or to a company without your consent, that is a data breach because they are using it for commercial purposes without your consent. And what comes first in a data protection kind of scenario or situation is the data protection provides that you must seek informed consent from the data subject. So if there was a skip, or maybe they failed to do that or notify you as the person appearing in that image, then it amounts to a breach. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. I hope I've answered your question, Janet.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much.
Also, to add on what Cynthia was talking about, last year, Kiragu also leaked the PIN numbers and names, basically the PIN numbers of people who they called the tax defaulters. And considering that Kiragu is a data controller, this was also a breach, but I think they were just warned, and because I think since the law is still new, people are still trying to get to understand their role in the Data Protection Act. Yes. Any other question or comment or suggestion? Haron, do you have anything to say?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, though I joined late. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I joined late. I did not capture most of the things, but I think the last bit of it that I caught up with is quite good information.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's very good information. Maybe my question would just be, in your area of practice now that this is cybersec, yeah? This is your area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are some of the recommended tools, like the tools you've had good experience with in preventing reconnaissance attacks?
So I personally do the reconnaissance attacks. My focus is on open source intelligence. So what I deal most is with open source tools. I am not on the side of the defense. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's how I can answer. I am more into information gathering. But when you think about the way you gather information, it all comes down to how safe or how secure are you? The basic things that we've talked about, such as having a VPN, ensuring you have passphrases over passwords. These are things that you do not even need sophisticated tools. You just need to have the right kind of OPSEC. And OPSEC is operational security. And when we talk about operational security, basically we are talking about how safe am I, how safe is my target. So therefore, the basic things such as having proper online security, basically safeguarding your account, ensuring you have two-factor authentication, having a VPN, using secure browsers. All these are things that you're doing to enhance your security, because security starts with you. Yeah.
Okay, to add on that, to answer Aaron's question, I would say that from a data protection perspective, normally if you want to be compliant with the laws, because data protection is about protecting the information and security that you have as an organization. So in that instance, what we will think of is how are we going to protect this data so that we prevent a breach. So what normally happens is that you have to do something called a data inventory or data mapping, so that you get to realize what are the sources of our data, how do we store them, how do we transfer them, and actually that takes care of what Silvia talked about, the Cia Triad, because we are trying to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of that information. So when we begin with the data inventory mapping and everything, that is when we get to know what now we need to implement as an organization. So when you understand the data, the sources, the people, the everything about it, you have to have, let me call it a compliance report first. Are you compliant or not? Then what do we need? We have to identify the gaps. So after doing that, you can then recommend or advise on what security devices that you need to use or install, or the software and all that here. So on the chat box, I'm seeing there's a question from Sarah Nyawira. Sarah is asking, hi, thank you for this session. Welcome, Sarah. What are your views on proposed ICT bill? What would you say regulations on ICT practitioners might cap cybercrime to some extent? Silvia, what do you think before I respond to this?
In my opinion, I do not support this bill. One, because in my opinion, this is my opinion, I do not feel like you need a degree for you to be able to basically practice cybersecurity. I have actually come across some of the best white hat hackers who never did anything to do with IT. Some are from the architecture background, some are from business background. It's just basically how you understand the information. And in my opinion, people who come from different backgrounds and then they come to cybersecurity or to IT, they basically they have a different perspective to things. I did not do what did they say? I did not do computer science or any. I did something that is mixed with business. So, in my view, I come in with a different view on protecting of information or gathering of information. So I don't think it will really do curb cyber crimes, because if someone wants to learn how to hack, there are courses that are free that you can actually learn, and you will do it. And I don't think a bill will stop you from doing it, because the internet is not limited. In my view, the internet is not limited, and what you choose to do there is all up to you, unless you're caught. So that's my view. That's my view, because we've seen, it's like saying the dark web is bad. It's bad. Remember, the dark web is also used for good. whistleblowers use the dark web to basically whistleblow. We have people who use the dark web to try and find maybe information on crimes. So in my view, you do not need what, an IT background for you to basically do cybersecurity, or basically to practice anything IT.
Okay, to add on what you are saying.
Okay, can I
right.
just something small? Okay, on the ICT bill, it's I think it's a broad-based idea. Let's not just look at it in terms of the qualification, that is the degree requirement. It recognizes different tiers of recognition, from prior learning to the self-taught category to diploma, degree, and all that. Just like the engineers, like the regulation board is doing it. They have different tiers of recognition. So this is not to say that I support the bill. What I'm saying is the drawback of the bill is that they say they will be controlling the curriculum that is offered under ICT. We know that ICT is very dynamic. It changes so fast. Innovations come in very quickly. So if you try to regulate it, this will bring in a lot of problems. Like, to what extent is the body, the regulatory body, going to keep up with the changing trends, because they're so fast? And we have a lot of like new things coming up. And again, on the issue of the ICT bill, there's another point that I saw was raised by someone. I think it's on the, if you read the Hansard, the Parliament Hansard, it was talking about there was a time a cybersec issue was brought up in court, and no one could stand as an authority recognized in law. I think this is what informed their decision to come up with a bill as well, that nobody would really be recognized in law, under any law, as an authority to give information. So the case that was in place at the time like died because of this. So that is my point, but not to say I support it. I don't support retrogressive things that would hamper innovation. A lot need to be put in place to think about what to regulate and what not. Yeah, that's my idea.
Also, when I think about it, sorry, Cynthia, when I think about it, I have not actually really, I have just heard of that part of, I saw just that part of the background. And when you think about it, the cyber crimes that we're going to be facing by this time next year is not the same thing that we'll be facing right now. So how quick will they keep updating this thing? Because, you know, there are crimes that will come that we have no reference to. So therefore, I personally do not support this bill. Yeah.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is it's really difficult to regulate the practice of ICT and all that, unlike law, because when you look at law, we have laws, you have regional laws, and you have international laws. So I think maybe we should just have maybe an international ICT law that governs, and it should be regularly updated. But in the sense that in Kenya, like, we cannot claim that there is part of the internet that belongs to Kenya, you see. So when you look at it from that perspective, then this bill is bound to fail, because the internet is a transboundary thing. It's transnational. It cuts across borders. There are things you cannot claim as an individual that this, not unless it's an innovation, but across the web, things just happen and innovations happen every day. People practice, people learn. I'm a lawyer, but I'm learning cybersecurity. So after learning, I'm learning with an institution in Nigeria. Is it that I'm supposed to be denied to practice as a data protection and cybersecurity advocate in Kenya? It's not realistic, because it depends with the jurisdiction. We cannot say that the law or the cybersecurity that I learn, actually the cybersecurity that I learned from there is not the same cybersecurity that is here in Kenya. So cybersecurity and ICT is the same everywhere. So having a law to regulate it would, like, it's bound to fail either way. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And yeah, any other question? Then maybe you can, if there's no question, you can proceed to end the session, and maybe if there's someone who has any other thing or any other contribution that wants to share with us, then you can do so before we end the session. So it seems we are all content and satisfied with what has been presented and the discussion. Thank you so much. It was nice having you all here today and setting time aside to participate in this webinar. We will be having another one next month. I hope to see you. It will be on data protection. And yeah, let's continue learning.